They will not tell you this on CNN. They will not print it on the front page of the Washington Post. But on September 15, 2025, in the dusty borderlands of northern Burkina Faso, history was written in fire and steel. At exactly 4 o'clock in the morning, while most of the world slept, Captain Ibrahim Traoré gave the order. His soldiers moved swiftly, striking deep into the caves that had hidden terror for years. By sunrise, the result was clear. 73, 14, 0. That is the meaning of victory. 73 terrorists destroyed, 14 villages liberated from fear. 0 Burkina soldiers lost. These numbers are not rumors. They are not propaganda. They are verified facts, confirmed by both military reports and civilian witnesses. They are proof that a young nation, long mocked and underestimated, can rise against all odds. For decades, Western voices said Burkina Faso could not defend itself. They said our people would always depend on foreign troops, foreign aid, foreign approval. They said the Sahel was nothing but a desert of failure. But on that morning, the voices of doubt were silenced. In the villages along the Mali border, children walked to school without fear. Mothers cooked in open courtyards, no longer listening for gunfire. Elders raised their hands in prayer, whispering, "We are free again." This was not just a military operation. It was a revelation. A moment that proved Africa does not need to kneel for protection. A moment that showed the world what happens when discipline, courage, and faith come together under true leadership. But here is the question that haunts every ally and every enemy alike. Was this just a battle, or the beginning of something far greater? Because inside those caves, soldiers uncovered more than weapons. They uncovered money, maps, and secrets pointing to hands far beyond the Sahel. And those secrets could shake not only Burkina Faso, but the entire balance of power in Africa. Stay with us, because this story is not just about war. It is about dignity. It is about justice. And it may be about the future of the continent itself. The story of September 15, 2025, begins not with gunfire, but with silence. For weeks, Burkina Faso's intelligence networks had been listening, watching, and waiting. Village defense volunteers whispered of strange movements near the Mali border. Russian satellites picked up unusual heat signatures deep inside mountain caves. Turkish drones hovered high above, unseen, capturing every detail. Chinese communication systems intercepted encrypted chatter that spoke of weapons shipments and planned attacks. The evidence became impossible to ignore. A massive terrorist stronghold was growing beneath the Sahel's dry soil. If left untouched, it could unleash destruction across Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Captain Ibrahim Traoré and his generals made the decision. Operation Desert Shield would be launched at dawn. At 4 a.m., under the cover of darkness, the plan unfolded in 4 precise phases. Phase 1. Aerial reconnaissance. Turkish TB2 drones swept silently over the caves. Their thermal cameras confirmed what villagers had feared. Dozens of militants, armed and organized, storing heavy weapons in underground chambers. For 72 hours, the drones observed without being detected. Every movement was recorded. Every escape route was mapped. Phase 2. Precision strikes. As the clock struck 4:10, the skies thundered. Russian-supplied attack helicopters launched missiles at key entry points, collapsing tunnels and cutting off any chance of escape. Ammunition depots exploded in fireballs that lit up the desert night. Terrorists stumbled into chaos, unable to regroup or call for reinforcements. Phase 3. The ground assault. From 3 directions, elite Burkina special forces advanced. Armored vehicles rolled forward, shields of steel protecting soldiers as they stormed the cave entrances. Equipped with modern rifles, night vision goggles, and body armor, the soldiers moved with surgical precision. Explosions echoed in the distance, but inside the caves it was hand-to-hand combat. By sunrise, 73 militants had been neutralized. Phase 4. Mop-up operations. The last resistance crumbled. Soldiers seized control of storage rooms filled with weapons, rocket-propelled grenades, heavy machine guns, explosives, and encrypted radios. They uncovered caches of foreign currency, stacks of fresh US dollars, British pounds, and euros. In total, 14 villages were liberated from occupation. Over 8,000 civilians would soon return to their homes, free at last. The final tally stunned analysts. 73 terrorists eliminated, 0 Burkina soldiers killed, 14 villages freed, over $400,000 in foreign currency seized, dozens of advanced weapons captured. This was not luck. It was the result of months of discipline, training, and coordination across multiple nations. Burkina Faso had proven that with the right intelligence, the right tools, and the right leadership, Africa could defeat any enemy. But the most shocking discovery was not the bodies of the defeated militants. It was what lay inside their pockets and on their laptops. Soldiers uncovered maps pointing to government facilities across 3 countries. They found contact numbers linked to financiers outside Africa. They seized documents suggesting plans for simultaneous attacks in Ouagadougou, Bamako, and Niamey. Colonel Boubacar Sanfo, who led the ground assault, later said, "This was no ordinary camp. It was a command center for an international network. Without this operation, thousands would have died." For villagers, the relief was immediate. A local chief, tears in his eyes, told reporters, "Traoré's soldiers came like a storm. They swept away the terrorists, and now our children can live again." The mission was complete. But the question remained, if so much foreign money and advanced weaponry were found in these caves, who had been supplying them, and why? The caves were empty, but the trail they left behind pointed to capitals far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. The battle was over, but the revelations had only begun. As soldiers combed through the caves, they discovered something more dangerous than rifles or grenades: undeniable proof of an international conspiracy. Inside steel lockboxes, they uncovered stacks of crisp American dollars, over $127,000, each bill newly printed, untouched by dust. Alongside it, 89,000 euros and 34,000 British pounds. There were also smaller bundles of Swiss francs and Emirati dirhams. This was not money stolen from local banks. It was money delivered, organized, and timed. It was foreign funding for terror. Then came the weapons. Rocket-propelled grenades with serial numbers that traced back to foreign manufacturers. Heavy machine guns unavailable in West African markets. Explosives requiring advanced factories to produce. Communication devices with encrypted software, rarely seen outside state-level agencies. Colonel Traoré, head of military intelligence, summed it up. These weapons require governments to buy, ship, and protect. Terrorists cannot do this alone, but perhaps the most chilling evidence was found in seized laptops and phones. Files revealed planned assaults on military bases in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Maps highlighted civilian targets, markets, schools, even churches. Contact lists linked militants to financiers in the Middle East and Europe. There were even encrypted messages showing coordination with political opposition figures inside Burkina Faso, aiming to exploit instability for power. The discovery sent shockwaves through the Sahel. It was no longer just about local jihadists hiding in caves. It was about an international network feeding chaos into Africa's heart. On the streets of Ouagadougou, the reaction was explosive. Within hours, crowds poured into Independence Square waving flags and chanting, "Traore delivers victory!" Mothers lifted their children on their shoulders, saying, "You are safe now because of our army." Elders, who had lived through decades of coups and foreign interference, declared this operation proof that Burkina Faso could defend itself without foreign troops. In Mali and Niger, leaders praised the victory, calling it a turning point in the fight for sovereignty. Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali issued a statement. Operation Desert Shield shows what African solutions look like. Together, we are unstoppable. But the reaction was not the same in Western capitals. In Washington and Paris, official statements were muted. Western media outlets either ignored the scale of the victory or framed it with suspicion, raising questions about human rights risks and the rise of strongman politics. The contrast was clear. In Africa, people celebrated. In the West, elites worried. Meanwhile, across social media, hashtags like Africa Wins and Traore Victory trended with millions of posts. Videos from liberated villages showed children running into classrooms for the first time in years, women singing traditional songs as they worked in reopened markets, and men rebuilding roads with tears of pride. But with every cheer came a warning. Analysts like Dr. Fatou Kabore, a security expert in Ouagadougou, cautioned, "The terrorists will not accept this humiliation quietly. Their foreign sponsors will regroup. They will try again." For Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the moment was both triumph and test. He addressed the nation with calm but firm words. "This is not the end of the fight. This is proof of what we can achieve. But greater battles lie ahead. The operation had changed the balance of power in the Sahel. Terrorist groups were retreating, fractured and fearful. Yet behind them loomed the shadow of foreign hands, still funding, still planning, still determined to destabilize Africa. And so the question burned brighter than ever. Could Burkina Faso's young leader hold the line not only against militants in caves, but against the powerful forces outside Africa that wanted chaos to continue? When the dust settled, the human face of victory came into focus. 14 villages, once trapped under the shadow of terror, were free again. Roads once blocked by checkpoints of fear now carried the sound of bicycles, market carts, and children running to school. In the village of Koudougou, an elder named Ibrahim Traoré described the scene. "For years we lived like prisoners. The terrorists took our harvest, punished our daughters, and silenced our prayers. But when Traoré's soldiers came, it was like the sky opened. They swept away the evil. Now our children sing again." Humanitarian groups reported that over 8,000 civilians returned to their homes within days of the operation. Schools reopened, some after being closed for nearly 5 years. Clinics unlocked their doors. Farmers returned to their fields. For many families, it was the first season they could plant without paying tribute to armed men. Markets revived with life. Women sold grain and cloth under the open sun, laughing as though they had been given a second chance. Children carried books, not fear, in their hands. The liberation was not abstract. It was visible, it was tangible, and it was deeply emotional. But while families celebrated, the political consequences rippled through Ouagadougou. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, already popular with the youth, became a symbol of national pride. His slogan, "African Solutions for African Problems," was no longer a dream. It was reality on the ground. For his supporters, Operation Desert Shield was proof of his leadership. They said he had done in 3 years what Western-backed governments failed to do in decades: secure the people's safety. At rallies, thousands shouted his name, waving signs that read, "Traoré is our shield." Yet not everyone celebrated. Opposition figures grew uneasy as reports surfaced linking some of their members to seized communications found in the caves. The documents suggested that certain political actors had considered aligning with militant groups to destabilize the government. Though not all the details were confirmed, the implication was enough to shake the political landscape. Tensions rose in the capital. Supporters of Traore accused opposition leaders of betraying the nation. Opposition leaders accused the military of using victory as a weapon against democracy. The country stood at a crossroads. Was this unity or the start of a deeper political divide? At the regional level, Mali and Niger doubled down on their alliances with Burkina Faso. They pledged to adopt similar tactics, sharing intelligence and coordinating strikes across borders. For the first time in years, there was real momentum toward a united Sahel defense front. But beneath the celebrations, an undercurrent of fear remained. What if foreign sponsors retaliated? What if Western governments, threatened by Africa's new independence, applied pressure through sanctions, propaganda, or covert means? In a televised address, Traore looked directly into the camera and spoke to the people. "We have shown the world what Africans can do. But do not be naive. Our enemies are not finished. They will try again. They will strike in the shadows. We must stay vigilant." His words resonated with pride, but also with warning. Burkina Faso had gained more than territory. It had gained confidence. But confidence, in the world of geopolitics, can be dangerous. And so the stage was set for the next confrontation, not on the battlefield of dusty caves, but in the halls of diplomacy, in the echo chambers of Western media, and in the quiet strategies of Washington and Paris. Outside Africa, the reaction was far less joyful. In Washington, State Department officials released a short statement calling for restraint and warning of potential humanitarian concerns. Not a word of praise for the villages freed, not a word about the 8,000 civilians who had returned home. Instead, the focus was on the risks of authoritarian consolidation. In Paris, the silence was even louder. French outlets that once covered every skirmish in the Sahel with bold headlines barely mentioned the victory. When they did, it was framed with suspicion. Is Traoré becoming too powerful? Will Burkina Faso slide into militarism? The contrast was clear. Where Africans saw liberation, Western elites saw a threat to their influence. Meanwhile, independent analysts broke ranks. Colonel James Mitchell, a retired U.S. Special Forces officer, said openly on international television, "What Burkina Faso accomplished would challenge even NATO forces. Precision strikes, zero casualties, total victory. This is textbook modern warfare." His words circulated widely online, shared millions of times across Africa. Even his mainstream networks tried to bury them. In the global South, the response was the opposite of Washington and Paris. Mali, Niger, and Guinea celebrated openly, declaring the victory a continental turning point. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa praised Burkina Faso for showing that African solutions are not just slogans, but reality. Even leaders in Kenya and Ghana, far from the Sahel, expressed solidarity, calling it a triumph for all Africans. On social media, the numbers spoke louder than diplomats. The hashtag #TraoreVictory crossed 10 million posts in a single day. Videos of villagers singing under reopened schools and women dancing in marketplaces swept across TikTok, Facebook, and WhatsApp groups. The narrative was unstoppable. Africa could defend itself and win. But in the back rooms of power, another conversation was taking place. Reports suggested that U.S. and European officials were quietly reviewing financial sanctions and diplomatic pressure points. Some feared that if Burkina Faso's example spread, the West would lose its grip on the Sahel entirely. So the question now lingered, sharper than ever. Would Washington allow Africa to chart its own path? Or would a new form of interference soon follow? The operation was finished. The numbers were clear. 73 terrorists destroyed, 14 villages liberated, 0 Burkina soldiers lost, foreign money exposed, weapons seized, civilians freed. By any measure, it was a complete victory. But victories in Africa have never been simple. Each success brings new dangers. Analysts warn that terror groups, humiliated and broken, will regroup with fresh funding from their foreign sponsors. Western media, already uneasy, may amplify narratives of militarism to undermine Traoré's leadership. And powerful capitals from Washington to Paris may look for new ways to pressure Burkina Faso, not because of failure, but because of success. The people of the Sahel stand at a crossroads. Will this be remembered as the dawn of a new African strength, or the moment that foreign powers doubled their efforts to divide the continent once more? For Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the challenge is not only military. It is spiritual, moral, and political. Can a young leader carry the hopes of millions, defend his people, and resist the shadows of external interference? Or will he become the next target of those who fear a strong, independent Africa? These questions are not just for Burkina Faso. They are for every African child walking to school in freedom. They are for every farmer planting his seeds without fear. They are for every mother who prays at night that her family will live to see tomorrow. So we end with a choice. Will the world dismiss this victory as an accident? Or will we honor it as proof that Africa can rise? Brothers and sisters, let this not be just a headline. Let it be a reminder that justice is possible, that dignity is worth fighting for, and that faith, courage, and discipline can defeat even the darkest enemy. If you believe that Africa deserves peace, tell this story. If you believe every child has the right to learn without fear, share this victory. And if you believe that Captain Ibrahim Traoré has proven that African solutions can protect African lives, then remember this day, September 15th, 2025. Because the battle is over, but the struggle for Africa's future has only begun.